Imagine a glass tube extending into the sky as far as the eye can see. Imagine that you are inside this tube, and that your place in this tube is decided by whether people see you as being above them or whether they see you as being beneath them. I call this the social hierarchy tube. One day you think you're at one spot in the tube, the next day you find yourself in a completely different spot. You know that you didn't change, so why did your spot in the tube change? Imagine being looked upon as someone deserving to be at the very bottom of this tube. Even kind, well-meaning folks treat you as lower than them. They say super sweet, kind things to you that indicate that you are not like them. The one thing that people say that stops me dead in my tracks? First of all, I know these people mean well. I know that they are trying to indicate a higher level of acceptance when they say this. Listen to it though. Tell me why it sounds a little bass-ackwards. I'm usually having a deeper than surface conversation when people feel like they should say this. I don't even notice your hands anymore. My immediate knee-jerk thought about that? By saying that they don't notice my hands anymore, they are acknowledging that they still see my hands. That's not all they're saying by saying that though. When they say that they don't notice my hands anymore, they are saying that they know that my place is at the bottom of the social hierarchy tube. And when they say that they don't notice my hands anymore, they are saying that I don't deserve to be at the bottom of the social hierarchy tube. So they really are trying to say something nice to me, and I agree with these people. I don't deserve to be at the bottom of the social hierarchy tube. Honestly though, nobody deserves that. There was one day I was standing at the bottom of this tube. I was still a really young kid. I was looking up at the bottom of everybody's feet. I saw the people above me pushing and shoving, pulling and clawing at each other, shouting and screaming at each other, trying to squeeze past each other, trying to get above one another. I couldn't see where they were all trying to go. I turned my attention to the glass holding us all in. It looked crystal clear. It looked so clear that it looked like it wasn't even there. There were people banging against the glass. I heard them banging on the glass. But when I listened more closely, I could hear them shouting, bonk, bonk, bonk. Bonk, bonk, bonk. The banging sound was coming from them, not the glass. I decided to do something crazy. I reached out and tried to touch the glass. There was nothing there. I reached so far to try to touch the glass that I accidentally fell out of the tube. I turned around and looked. My place in the tube was still right there. It was an empty hole where I used to be standing. I looked up. The tube extended for miles and miles, with people clambering over each other to try to get ahead. I tried to touch the glass from the outside, because I was now clearly on the outside of this thing, and there was still nothing to touch. There was no glass there at all. So how were all these people so high up without anything holding them together? And that's when I noticed something really peculiar. I was laying on the ground. I got up on my hands and knees very weakly. My arms and legs wobbled, but I eventually got myself up to my feet. I pretty much had zero balance and I fell over a few times, but every time I fell, I got back up because I had to see why everybody was laying on the ground in this ridiculously long line, clawing at each other and shouting at each other. A few years later, one of the occupants of this non-existent tube noticed me out of place and shouted at me to get back into the tube. I shouted back, "But the tube isn't real." "Of course it's real," the occupant shouted back. I walked over to where he was laying on the ground. I bent down and touched his shoulder. "How did you get over here so fast?" he shouted. "How did you touch me?" I said, "You're laying on the ground, wiggling around like everybody else." "No, I'm not," he shouted. "You're all sideways and kicking weird and moving strange." I laughed. "Reach out your hand towards me. The glass isn't there." "Yes, it is," he shouted. "Watch." He pretended to pound on the glass and shouted, "Bonk, bonk, bonk." "That's you making that noise," I pointed out. "No, it's the glass," he shouted. He pretended to pound on the glass again and shouted, "Bonk, bonk, bonk." "Just take my hand," I said. "I'll show you what I mean." "I'm not taking your hand," he shouted. "You must be evil doing all this crazy stuff, getting out of line, kicking around, moving all weird, reaching through the glass. It's unnatural. You're evil." "Hey, that guy just got past you in line," I said, pointing. "What?" he shouted. "Hey, that's my spot." Those two guys started fighting and forgot all about me. People wonder how a person like me can be so confident. Well, do you understand why now? The social hierarchy tube is fake. I am not at the bottom because there is no bottom. There's no top either. There's no glass holding us in. And whenever anyone wants to stop wiggling around on the ground, they can just stand up like I did. Like so many other people have done long before I was born, people wonder how I can interact with anyone still inside the social hierarchy tube. No matter how high or how low they appear to be, I know that everybody is a human just like me. I just walk over to them and start talking to them like we're all just regular people, because we are all just regular people. It doesn't work all the time. Some folks are really determined to put me in my place. They refuse to talk to me because I am not like them. No worries. Look, another person to talk to. It turns out that a lot of people are willing to talk. It just takes a little courage. And just having the courage gets people to question if I am equal to them. I don't question it. I know we're all equal. I get that we need people in charge of stuff. I get that. Things need to be organized. Work has got to get done. Leaders help with the bigger picture of the process. That's cool. I'm all for that. But that doesn't make anyone more important. Not when it comes to who we really are. And even the leaders have to acknowledge that they have more stuff to lead when the people around them are stronger and more capable. It's like I like to say, the stronger the individuals, the stronger the society. The stronger the society, the stronger the individuals can be. It really does work that way. So, the social hierarchy tube. It's a bunch of people wiggling around on the ground, fighting to get ahead. The glass is fake. The hierarchy is fake. It is one way to conduct business among humans. And that's all it is. It isn't the only option, though.